Hello, thank you for joining me, Jeani, here at the ACC Community Room. Today's gentle yoga class will be focusing on the hips, the legs, hopefully some hands and feet, release exercise as we're moving along. But just as usual, we'll be hopefully experiencing some release from springtime activities that we've been experiencing in this last week. And I gotta say, it's been like 100 degrees almost for the last few days, so I hope you're staying hydrated, keep some water nearby, and we will start at the back of the mat as we usually do. So let's go ahead and coming to the back of the mat, keeping the breath just as a focal point to consider, but you don't have to change the quality of the breath. As we arrive to class, give yourself some time just to notice how you're feeling. How does the mat feel under the feet? Does it help as we're standing in mountain to have the knees bent slightly? And as we start to quiet down, you can start to think about the breath. As the air enters the nose and as it exits. Let's go ahead and bring our left hand to the chest, right hand underneath the belly button. And for the next few breath cycles, see if you can feel the energy traveling in the body on each of the inhales and the outhales. Each inhale might find a lifting of the collarbones at the top of the inhale. A slight pause before you slowly, with a little more control, start to exhale. And at the bottom of the exhale, just pressing in that belly hand, engaging the core. All these little reminders as we're breathing in this slower, more focused exercise as we warm up. And hopefully becomes second nature, both on and off the mat when we need it. All right, we'll go ahead and bring our hands down to the sides. And coming on to all points of the soles of the feet, we'll go ahead and start bringing breath and body movement together. So inhaling in our mountain, feel the energy from the feet traveling up the body, through to the crown of the head, maybe even beyond. And on the exhale, that same energy returning through the body. Feel as if you're rooting down through the feet, back to the earth. The next inhale, we slowly start to roll the center of gravity towards our toes. And when we find that edge, we take the next breath and slowly start to roll that weight towards the heels. Give yourself a few breath cycles to explore that heel to toe movement and find hopefully center somewhere at about the ankles. Dropping into our mountain. Let's go ahead and inhale, feeling energized upwards. We're just going to exhale to roll the weight to the outer right edge of our feet. Inhale all the way back up. Exhale over and use that 3-part breath or 2-part breath, just to find that horizontal mapping at the feet, the foundation of our center of gravity. Then we'll return to center, inhaling once more, nice and tall in our mountain. Start making small circles in one direction. We're just slowly moving in this direction, finding the circles getting wider till we can find the edge of our feet. And then we can tighten in the circles. Notice if it's a little wobbly. Notice how that journey is as we return to center and to our mountain our home base. Inhaling nice and tall once more. Make small circles in the opposite direction. Notice any changes, if any. Just give yourself some space and time to find that edge on this side. And then we'll return to center, like water going down a drain. Meeting back at home base of mountain. Inhale, reset the mountain, just a little taller, a little longer. We're moving up to maybe bringing a little lubrication to the ankles and the hips. So you can relax the feet some, a little wider than hips distance apart, but we're just going to start to swivel the upper body. And as we move from side to side, as more of our torso moves to one side, we want to lift the ball of that foot on that side and kind of pivot on the heel. You don't want to torque the knee, have the knee and the toes in the same direction if you can. And you'll just find a little bit of movement, hopefully in the ankles, in the hips, maybe with the arms relaxed at the side, just dangling, moving with the momentum. You might find a little release in the shoulders as well. Just let it relax. Then we'll let that energy peter out and return to home base. Moving on up to the shoulders, nice and tall in our mountain once more. See if you can get a little longer, a little taller, maybe less of a bend to the knees, but you can always keep that bend if your legs are tight. Feeling nice and uplifted here at the crown of the head, like that string drawing you up towards the ceiling. We're going to lift up the shoulders. Exhale, roll them back and down. A total of 4 sets of lifting up on the inhale. Exhaling, rolling them back and down. I'm trying to adjust my microphone here. Feels like it might be just a little closed off. Anyhow, as we're moving towards opening up the shoulder girdle, just lifting the shoulders up, exhaling to roll them back and down. Let them melt down, tucking in the tips at the mid-back. Hopefully now we're ready for the next round, and that's just going to be the same inhale up, but this time exhale, roll them forward and down. You're just going to repeat another set, but this time exhaling on a forward roll. And hopefully the shoulders will benefit a little more in the back, upper back area. And then we can return to our home base. And don't forget, you can always lift up your feet if you have a tendency to grip the mat. As we transition to the next pose, we're just going to bring the head into alignment with the shoulders, hopefully. And that nice long lifting at the crown of the head, tucking of the chin. Hopefully that bringing the shoulders underneath the ears, all the upper joints below, above the below joints, so above the hips, above the knees, above the ankles. Well, let's go ahead and move on up. So lifting upwards on the inhale, exhaling to turn the gaze, bringing that right ear closer to the right shoulder, but allowing some space there. And of course, turning the gaze if you haven't already. Finding the release in the next 3 to 4 breath cycles. The left side of the neck, all the way to the eyes. Might just find a little bit of release by that last breath cycle. Inhaling, bringing the eyes, the head completely back up to center. Exhale, let the left ear move towards the left shoulder. Inhaling to lift, exhaling to turn the gaze if you haven't already. Find that release on the right side. And maybe by the end of your last breath cycle, your eyes might find the leftmost side of your vision. Palms facing forward. And using the ocean breath for facilitating the release. All right, after the very last exhale, go ahead and bring the eyes up on an inhale, and the head lifting all the way up towards the ceiling. So with the exhale, all you have to do is lower the eyes towards the top of the mat, somewhere about 6 feet in front of you. Find that length at the back of the neck. Give some space to the chin, about a tennis ball size space between the chin and the chest. And as you inhale, finding that it uplifting, even at the crown of the head, a slight tilt towards the ceiling. And after your very last exhale, you can go ahead and bring the eyes back up towards the midline, past the midline, and just rest them above you. Try not to crane the neck. We just want to see what's above us with our eyes. Get a little stretch with the eyes. Get some space in the mouth. Open a small O to a larger O shape with the mouth. In here too, it's about 3 to 4 breath cycles just to find release in the front of the mouth, the face, the throat. And after your very last exhale, you can bring the gaze back to center. And again, do anything that feels good. Make sure you're turning off any residual activated muscles. You can flick the wrists, you can lift the feet, bounce on the knees if you need. And we'll start with our walking meditation folds. So bringing the hands down to the side, energizing them downward. We're going to inhale, extend them above. Hands are lifting up at the top of the inhale. Exhale, engage the core and start to hinge at the hips. Firm up the legs, somewhere halfway down. You can always walk the hands down or just let the hands float down. And hopefully the back will follow. In our first extended fold, we're just going to let our back hopefully relax, give the space and the time needed. Bend the knees if you have really tight legs. If your hips are tight and your knees are tight, it could just be a good time to keep a bend until you're finding a little release. And if your hands are hanging in the mid air, that's fine. If your hands are touching the mat, that's fine too. Somewhere in between. Just find hopefully some release where you're not holding onto anything with the upper arms, and the upper body is just releasing with each subsequent exhale. Now get ready to come out with a slow roll up. We're almost done with our last breath, hopefully. On the next inhale, you can just start to press into the feet, firm up the legs, and start to slowly roll up the spine, walking the hands up if you need, one vertebra at a time, until you come all the way back up to standing. Give yourself a breath or two. The blood is rushing back to the head. And we'll give ourselves another fold. Go ahead and extend the arms downward, reaching with the fingers. We're going to inhale, extend the arms above. Exhale, engage the core, hinge at the hips, bend the knees if you need, and float on down to a second fold. About 3 breath cycles now here. You can sway the hips gently. You can see if you're holding on to the head and just gently bobble the neck, bobble the head so that the neck can relax. Give yourself that space to have a deep breath or two. And then with the next inhale, we're going to do a half lift. Go ahead and press into wherever your hands have contact. Maybe it's forearms to the thighs, hands to the shins. Maybe it's palms to the mat. But just try to lengthen through the back, lengthen through the legs as is available, and then exhale back to the fold. Maybe it's not much of a fold. And then inhale, we're going to come back up with a slow roll up once more, or strong straight back. Either way, engage the core. Inhale, come on up, your choice. Hands above the head. Exhaling, hands down heart center. And let's get ready for our walking meditation. Inhale, lift the right foot. Exhale, bring the foot down. Heel, ball of foot and toes. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale, the foot down. Heel, ball of foot and toes. And as you make your way to the top of the mat, 1 full step per breath cycle, we'll meet at the top looking down at the fingertips in mountain. Press into the palms. Inhale, watch them rise. Exhale, separate the palms and hinge at the hips, engaging the core. Fully exhaled here at the fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees if you need. Bring the hands down to either side and step a right foot and a left foot, maybe several steps back to your high plank. Inhaling the shoulders over the wrists. Go ahead, bring the knees down untuck the toes, and we'll have our modified high plank here. Notice if your shoulders are a little past your wrist. If they are, go ahead and walk the hands forward a little bit, or press on the tops of the feet and the shins and lift up the knees just slightly and walk them back a little bit. You want to have the lower body supported by the shins, the upper body by our arms extended downward. Now let's go ahead and inhale. Tuck the toes, lift up the hips, and exhale. Press the hips back to our first down dog. You can have greatly bent knees if your legs are really tight. You can have a bend to the elbows. You can have your fingers splayed very wide to help distribute the support in the hands. And then go ahead and inhale. Bring the hips upward and roll to the tips of the toes if you can. And exhale. Bring, I'm getting a call. Sorry about that. I should have somebody take off my silence. All right, here we go. So we're moving forward. And in your down dog, go ahead and inhale one more time. Exhale. Lower the heels to where they land naturally. They don't have to touch the mat. And then we'll go ahead and roll the eyes to the hands on the next inhale. And exhale, bend the knees, walk the hands to the back of the mat, to your fold. And you can always walk back fully to the back of the mat if you need. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. And inhale, come on up, your choice. Again, you can do a slow roll up, engage the core, or come on up with a straight back. Hands up, and exhaling hands down, heart center. And our second walking meditation. Go ahead and inhale, right foot lifts. Exhale, right foot down. Inhale, left foot up. Exhale, left foot down. And as we make our way to the top of the mat, if you get a little wobbly, go ahead and press into the palms, engage the core again. Let me help you regain your balance. At the top of the mat, let's go ahead and look down at the fingertips. Inhale, press the palms, lifting them up. Exhale, separate the palms, hinge at the hips, engaged core, fully exhaled at the bottom of the fold. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, bend the knees. Bring the hands down at either side and walk a long right leg and left leg to your high plank. Inhaling, shoulders over the wrists, nice and long. 3 breath cycles here. Feel that strength from the heels all the way to the crown of the head. Belly button is sticking to the spine. An engaged core, nice and strong. Let's go ahead and inhale, lift the hips. Exhale, press the hips back to your second down dog. Give yourself 3 breath cycles here. You can walk your dog, alternately bending one knee, straightening the other leg. You can roll to the tips of the toes once more. Exhale, gently allow the heels to move towards the mat. You might find them a little closer to the mat this time. One more inhale. Roll the eyes to the hands. And an exhale, we're going to fold, bringing the hands, walking them back to the back of the mat to our fold. Bringing the feet together. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, engage the core. Come on up, your choice. Exhaling hands, down, heart center, and finally down to the side. Give yourself a moment or two. Let the breath, the blood rush back to the head. It's a great time for a little bit of water if you need. Sometimes having just a little bit of the inversion and returning to your home base of mountain can create a little bit of heat in the internal furnace and getting us just a little warmer. The joints are warmed up, the blood is moving. So we're moving into our balance pose next, and we're just gonna do a very gentle low lunge. So what I recommend doing is getting it modified with blocks, or if you have your special way of moving into a low lunge, you're more than welcome. You're also welcome to use a chair if you'd like. Now, what I would suggest if you're going down to the floor is to bring your mat. And for Rosie, I'm sorry, I didn't think about this a little sooner, but you could try it with a chair. And so when you have a chair nearby, it's a good way to kind of just find your hips sitting into that chair. You could just sit in the chair, sitting in the chair, and then you pivot to the side. So you can have the release in your hip as we're sitting down. You can also bring your blocks over and to help make your way to the mat. So as we're coming down, either way, if you're using the chair to sit down, you want to sit upright on the sits bones. And we're coming down to the mat with the blocks on either hand, or whichever way you're able to. We're coming down to our hands and our shins, and we're just going to move the blocks up a little bit and start to walk the left foot. And you can always use the blocks to help you until we've got about a 90-degree angle. And we're using the shin to support the back and the tops of the blocks to help support the upper body. And here we're just getting a nice gentle stretch in the thighs of this top leg. And if you want the right hip to give yourself a little bit of a forward movement, lifting up through the torso as well. And you can always walk the hands up and just lift up, have that right hip nice and straight. So as we're sitting down in the chair, we'd have our right arm on that back of the chair. We'd be on the edge of that chair. Or we can sit here with the blocks, kneel here with the blocks, and open up the hips in this way. And it's a low lunge, and as you're finding that opening with the hips, you can lift up the torso for that last bit. But if you're in the process of opening up the hips, you can keep the torso downward. All right, now to switch to the next position, you can use your blocks, move them off to the side, walk the foot back, or however you like to get there. We'll just move to the other side. So keeping that support on the back leg, shin, and then you can start to walk the left foot up. And we're keeping the support of the body with this left shin that's on the floor, with this shin that's on the floor, and the right leg is moving forward. The forward leg is coming to this right angle, and as the hips are facing oriented towards the right side of the thigh or the left pelvic hip area. We're just adjusting as we go. Take yourself with an upright position if you found your edge, and you can always breathe here. Finding the length in the right side of our glute, our thigh, our hamstring, and finding an openness in the left hip. And we are probably near our about 5 breath cycles once we start. So to come out, it's the same thing. You can use your blocks. You can bring both blocks to the front, shift the right foot back and start to walk that. Or come on out your favorite way if you already have one. We'll make our way down to the belly. So as we're here, hopefully if you have a bony pelvic area, hips, and you want some support, an extra blanket is great there. You can come down one forearm at a time and onto the belly. Now give yourself some time to figure out if you want the elbows above the shoulder line or at the same level or below the shoulder line. It just depends on how open your shoulder is, and for some of us it's more comfortable to lay with our forehead on pillowed hands or maybe one side of our face. So you can decide that as we're making our way to the belly. giving ourselves about 3 to 5 breath cycles to find a little bit of release just from being on our hips for the first time in the practice. You can roll, you can bend the knees, and gently allow the feet to sway from side to side as you're rolling on the front hips. If you are turned to one side of the face, you do want to bring the chest and the belly to help support the face, support the body as you turn the face, and then make sure you balance that turn on the other side. If the tops of your feet are always flexed, it might feel really nice to have them open right now, just resting on the top of the foot, resting on the instep of the foot, allows that flexed crease right at the top of the ankle to hopefully get some circulation there. All right, now as we're down here, we'll go ahead and start coming into our Sphinx position. Start bringing the face back to center if it's not there already. We're going to bring the fingers to about the shoulder level, walking them up. Hopefully helps to bring the elbows underneath the hips. And hopefully you're finding some space in the upper shoulders. You're not allowing the shoulder blades to cave in towards the spine, but you're protracting the shoulder blades away from the spine, making that upper back area nice and broad, keeping the shoulders down, like when we're rolling our shoulders in our warm-ups, rolling them back and down, keeping them away from the ears. All of that should give us just a little more length in the front of the torso. And as we're finding more of the support in our forearms, our palms, to the fingertips, hopefully we're finding we only need to use those muscles needed to keep the general form. We don't have to actively keep everything up. It's just keeping it from caving in towards the spine. Just use enough activation of the shoulder blades to move them away from the spine, and then just relax. Looking downward, a soft gaze. You can make your small final adjustments here. See if you're actively holding on to a glute, a toe, and see if you can just let that release. Give yourself 3 more good deep breath cycles. Imagine you're on the top of the ocean surface. And after your very last exhale, we'll go ahead and let the chest return to the mat, elbows move away from the body, and you can just pivot in the palms. Allow the forehead to be supported either by the palms or just resting on one side of the cheek, giving ourselves a balanced turn at the other side. Okay, and for the next position, we're transitioning to a locust pose. So keeping the face and the chin somewhat above the mat and using the hands at the sides, back of the hands on the mat. We're just going to gently extend through the right leg and point the toe. You're keeping the top of the foot, the leg is on the mat still, but as you're extending through that leg, your kneecap might lift slightly, but the foot is still resting on the mat. Go ahead and release. Let the right leg relax. And then inhale, extend through the left leg, pointing all the way through that toe, Just gently activate it. Find the length. A couple of breaths to find you hopefully at the maximum length. Feeling long from the hip bone all the way down to the toe. Maybe the kneecap lifts slightly. And then exhale, release. Let that left leg melt into the mat. And then we're going to bring the arms out just slightly away from the hips, palms down. Inhale, lengthen through the legs, through the arms, palms are down, tops of the feet are on the mat, and you're lengthening. The glutes are engaged, the shoulders all the way down to the fingertips are long, arms are engaged, legs are engaged. One more deep inhale, start to lift the legs, lift the feet where you can. Maybe they don't move, maybe it's just an intention, that's fine. And then exhale, let the legs, let the feet return. And then go ahead and turn the gaze to one side. Give yourself a few breaths here. Go ahead and gently press into the chest, lift the head and turn, balance out the other side. Resting here for a moment. And then we're going to do one more. Inhaling the face back to the mat. Go ahead and bring the feet just a little closer to each other. They should just be underneath the hips at this point. And reach downward with the arms. Bend the knees and see if you can touch your ankles. Maybe you're just reaching for the feet at this point. Go ahead and do that. If you can get a hold of the ankles, maybe the insteps, maybe the fingers can wrap around the arches, but just give yourself a gentle just connection there. You don't have to pull down on your legs. And if you don't make the connection, that's okay. Just try to reach for it. And then exhale, let the feet return, float down to the mat, and relax the belly. We'll be moving on to our back next. So if you have your favorite way of rolling onto the back, we'll be meeting in our base bridge position. So I like to keep, and keep the strap handy because we'll be doing some stretches hopefully with the help of your blocks and your strap. So coming on to the back, just rolling, and I know you'll roll off the mat, just gently inch your way back, shoulders a little, hips a little, and you'll find your way hopefully back onto the mat. And we're smoothing out any folded skin, pinched skin. We're also making sure that you're feeling that comfortable support at the back. You have a nice folded blanket, but it is a little too high and not in the right spot. So make your adjustments. We'll be meeting in base bridge, keeping the heels not at the backside, but within reach of the fingertips. Once you're there, feet directly, hips distance apart. Notice if the back of the neck can benefit from any support or if it feels good just where it is. Once you're there, we're going to let the arms just relax at our side, maybe about 6 inches away from the hips. Have about an upside down V with your arms if you can. Roll the palms onto the mat and just let your knees drop to one side. You're rolling onto the outer edge of your chosen side. I just happened to roll to the right. We're going to stay on this one side. Give yourself 3 to 5 breaths with this deep windshield wipe on this side. If you feel like you could benefit from a block under a knee, you can do that. Sometimes adjusting that height might help you support joints that are moving over, stretching on one side. Sometimes it just feels nice to have gravity help you make that distance. Or maybe you just enjoy dangling in the air. But as we're here, Last couple of breaths, you might just turn the gaze to the left or to the opposite side that you're windshield wiping to. When you're ready to come up, go ahead and inhale the gaze back to center with in alignment to the chest. And you can help the knees come up if you're really deeply moved over to the other side, but come back to the base bridge position, knees pointing towards the ceiling once more. Realign the spine with the neck if they happen to curve out in the transition. Give yourself a nice little rocking on the back of the sacrum. And once we find our base bridge position once more, hands out, palms down, we'll go ahead and let the knees drop to the other side with the next exhale. And again, if you want to take the next 3 to 5 breath cycles, see what props help you to find release on this side. We're just going to start the cooling down process here on our back in this nice extended windshield wipe to the left. You might find as you're windshield wiping to this side, it's on my left side here, your opposite leg might be suspended there in the air. Maybe that knee is touching the shin of the opposite leg. Could be a number of things. But hopefully you're finding that openness in the right side of the hip, and the palms are up. And the very last adjustment being, of course, that gaze, allowing it to rest on the opposite side. Since I'm windshield wiped to the left, you can just see if that turning of the gaze to the right helps to just bring that little extra bit of release. And when you're ready to come out, let's go ahead and bring the gaze back in line with the chest. And then coming back to our base bridge, help the knees back up with the help of your hands if you need. Bringing the sacrum fully back onto the mat. And give yourself any gentle movement that feels good to unactivate, to deactivate any activated muscles, or just to see how it feels after being stretched for a while. Just something gentle and exploratory. All right. And then we're going to bring our straps with us and get some ankle stretching, hopefully. With the strap in mind, and if you don't want to use the strap, you don't have to. You can use the material of your leg. You can bend this left knee, bring the strap over the ball of the foot, or you could just use, if you can't use your strap, or if you don't have a strap, you can just use the material of the leg. What we're just trying to do at this point is lengthen through the left leg. So as we have our strap here, that might help us. If we have a deep bend to our left knee, we're just working on lengthening through the leg. We don't have to bring the leg to a 90-degree angle. If we're just working on lengthening through the leg, the strap will come in handy. So keeping it at the ball of the foot, we can just let our hands rest at the strap ends here. And we're sort of relaxing, but allowing the lengthening to occur. And as we're gently pressing out through this left heel, our leg is lengthening. It's getting longer. If it doesn't feel good to lengthen, keep the micro bend to that left knee. And taking ourselves to this point here, now we can find out in the next 5 breath cycles whether we want to bring this to that 90-degree or work on bringing the extended left leg into a 90-degree position. So we find our sweet spot once we're there, and hopefully enjoy the last of your 5 breath cycles, just extending through this left leg. You can find that you don't really need to pull or anything. It's just allowing the hands to hold on to the strap that helps to keep the muscles and the leg in this general form to help release. Okay, we're going to go ahead now. Hopefully you've gotten your last 5 breaths here. We're just going to take the strap, or we're going to take the leg with our hands the material around the legs and just let the left leg drop outward just a little bit until you find it's a good stretch for you. It may not be that much. You might benefit from having the leg just out, and it feels really nice to have it open. You might have this left leg on a block on this side. You can find in the next 5 breath cycles where this feels good. Right, for me, I'm not going very far on this side. So actually, I don't even need a block. It's about as wide as it feels good right now. But hopefully you're getting an opening and an abduction of the hips right now to help you get just a little bit more of an opening in those hips. As you've reached your 5th breath here, we'll go ahead and inhale. Press up through the leg as you bring the leg back up with the help of your strap, with the help of both hands if you don't have a strap. And then let this left knee bend. Let that knee bend and return the foot to the base bridge position. And just give yourself a gentle rocking once more. We're going to keep that block on the right side because now we're going to spinal twist over to the right. So inhaling, extend through the left leg. You can use your strap. You can use your hands. And we're going to extend through this right leg now. Give it a moment or two. Sometimes being tented for a while, being flexed in the hip, it takes a while to unflex. So give it a moment. You can hold on to this leg. You can inhale, extend through the right leg, flex the right foot, press out through that right heel, and then exhale and just let it land where it's going to be. It is what it is. And then get ready to inhale and slowly move over to the right spinal twist. And you may not move very far, so maybe your landing lock helps you make that distance. Maybe you're out there somewhere in the midair. Find out where you are in the next 3 to 5 breath cycles. It takes a while as we find that edge. And your left shoulder can lift with you. Remember, it does not have to be on the mat. But as you're making your way to that final edge, you can always revisit that shoulder, see if it will eventually move back to the mat, or just stay hovered there in the air. Just depends. Once you find that landing spot that's very comfortable on this spinal twist, go ahead and breathe 5 good deep breath cycles here. Again, recalling the ocean. Each inhale, each exhale, pauses in between. A breath cycle about 5 to 6 seconds long. Hopefully the sound of the ocean somewhere at the back of the throat. As we near our very last breaths, you may find release of muscles you didn't even know you were actively holding. As we get ready to transition back to center, go ahead and bring the gaze back in line with the chest. Use your hands and the strap if you need to help guide the left leg back up, the sacrum back onto the mat, and eventually just let that left leg land. Go ahead and bring a bend to the right knee Bring both knees back up to a base bridge position and give yourself a gentle rocking from side to side. Windshield wiping slowly, and you can bring the hands down. And then check in with the base bridge position. Make sure your spine and your neck is in alignment. We'll be moving to the other side. Now all of that was on the left side. Let's go ahead and repeat this on the right side leg. So in our base bridge position, we're going to go ahead and bring this right knee up, the right foot up. Go ahead and use your strap and get that over the ball of the right foot, or you can just use the material of your leg. We're just trying to extend through the right leg at this point. And so you might have a deep bend to that right knee. You might, like me, be turned out. So we're just trying to find the extension, the length in this right leg for now. Work on that. So you can do a number of things for the next 3 to 5 breath cycles. You can flex the foot, point the toes. You can use both hands on the strap as a gentle weight reminder of lengthening through the back of the leg, through the arch, through that flexed foot. You might be working on lengthening, so maybe there's that deep bend to the knee. Work there, lengthening as you go. You don't have to go any further. If you've got the length on the leg, we're getting to that point, hopefully, where we can just inhale, bend through the flexed foot to find the extension of the back of the leg, internally rotating, pressing in through that big toe pad, the ball of the foot there, just pressing that gently so you can internally rotate the leg, finding the sacrum, supporting the weight of the hips equally and not rolling onto one side. All right, so as we're here finding that length, and if you've got the 90-degree angle or a slight bend to the knee, we're just going to give that a moment here, releasing, and then on the exhale, we're going to slowly allow this right leg to move outward. And it may not be that much. You may need to have the block there as a landing pad. But eventually, if you're open in that right hip, you might find the right thigh, maybe the right ankle lands on your landing block. Maybe it's not much. My hips are very tight, so I'm not opening the hips very far at all. And for you, you might have a similar story. Just working on giving some opening. You want the sacrum on the mat and just allow the leg to move outward until it stops, until it's no longer able to do that comfortably. You don't want the left hip to roll upward. Keep that nice and anchored to the mat, even distribution of weight. And again, you might have the strap, you might use the hands, you might be using the material to help open up. But hopefully you're finding that opening here. As you reach the last few breaths, see if you can just release and surrender into the open right leg. And then as you find your very last exhale, we're going to go ahead and inhale, help this right leg all the way back up, back to center, bend the right knee. You can have the strap still there because we're going to be spinal twisting over again, so don't forget about that. We'll go ahead and give ourselves just a gentle windshield wipe on the back of the sacrum. Then coming up once more, inhaling, extending through the right leg. Hopefully you find a little more extension this time. And again, making sure you've got that, you're working towards that 90-degree angle, or you're just working on extending through the leg. If you've got the 90-degree angle, we'll go ahead with the spinal twist and just lengthen through the left leg. Give yourself about 3 to 5 breath cycles. See if your left hip is so tented that it would benefit from just giving a couple of breaths to help release through that left leg. Inhale, extend through that left heel, flexing the left foot. Exhale, let the left foot relax. Let the left leg relax. The left calf is going to be where it is. And then taking your next inhale, we'll go ahead and help guide the left side spinal twist. So now your left spinal twist is moving over in the next 3 to 4 breath cycles. Do you have your block? Do you need your block there? Do you have your strap? Extending through the right leg, holding it up in suspended, anchored position. Maybe it's more of a bent knee. And your right shoulder can be lifted, can eventually roll back down, or it can be lifted. But hopefully you're just finding release with the spinal twist to the left or the opposite side if you started off differently. And giving ourselves 5 breath cycles here. And you're ready to come back up, bringing the chest and the face turn back to center. I didn't turn my chest, but if you did, bring them into alignment, and then help to bring the body back into a base bridge position. We're going to go ahead and bring the leg back up. Allow that right knee to bend. Take the strap off, let that right foot land. And then bend the left knee, bringing it back up. You may need to help that left knee up, left hip to bend. Coming back to the base bridge position and giving yourself a gentle rocking there too. Bring the hands down. And one more, bringing the feet, the soles of the feet together, and just let them touch. They don't have to, the soles of feet don't have to be completely together. You could just have the edge. You could have some form of the feet getting closer to each other so that the knees can just open up. And you'll have something of a butterfly while we're on our back. We're opening up through the knees. Give ourselves 5 good deep breath cycles. If you can use the blocks and they're within reach, you can have them hopefully help you here. If they helped you in those spinal twists before, maybe they can help you here in our butterfly while we're on our back. But on a high setting, if you've got really tight hips, you're not going to be opening up those butterfly wings very wide at all. But just getting the knees to be just a little more, a little wider than our hips distance just helps with that abduction of the hips, that opening that we like. Well, it's not hopefully too challenging. We have some blocks to help us in that transition. And when you have the blocks there, if you're really tight, but you can use that extra space, stretching, having the blocks there helps you to override any protective reflexive holding on to of the structure. And you might find with each passing exhale, you might just suddenly release and find yourself a little more open than you thought you were when you first started. One more deep inhale. One more deep exhale. And we'll go ahead and calm on out. We're going to use our hands to help bring our hands to the knees, thighs, to help lift up. Bring the knees back up towards the ceiling while the soles of the feet return to the mat. And then keep yourself in the space bridge, removing any props if you have them nearby. Give yourself another little roll on the sacrum if you want to. And one knee at a time. Extend through the legs and prepare for Shavasana. You may find that once your legs are extended, you might need some other extra movement, maybe arms extended overhead, maybe out to the side, maybe a gentle tapping of the knees, something to help untent the hips. You might find a gentle rolling at the waist, and then just let that space at the lower lumbar kind of relax and melt into the mat. I'm going to sit upright to keep the time, but as you enter Shavasana on your back, laying down to sleep, or rest your eyes for the next 5 minutes, I'll let you know with the sound of 3 bells when it's time to awaken. bringing the mind back to the body, taking note of sounds outside the room, sounds within the room, and finally back to the breath. As you make your way back to the body vessel, you can wiggle your toes, your fingers. You can make physical movement to help reconnect you to the body vessel once more. And as you awaken for perhaps the second time today, we'll meet in an upright seated position and end our class with a short breath exercise to help reawaken the body. So as we're here, let's go ahead and bring our hands to heart center and just simply inhaling, bringing the palms to gently press. Let's go ahead and bring the hands upwards above the head. Exhale, release. Scoop up the energy from the bottom. Inhale, hands back up to heart center. Exhale. Bring out the hands out to the above the head. Inhale here. Exhale down heart center. Engage the belly. One more. Inhale out to the hands, out to the sides, up above the head, meeting up here at the top of the inhale. Exhale, hands down, heart center, engage the core. Thank you so much for joining me here at ACC's Community Room. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.
Thank you, Jeani. Namaste. It was wonderful.
Hey, drink water. Remember, stay hydrated.